This property report is powered by realestate.com.au. Know the value of your home today. Track your property now.
To property now, and with spring officially here, it's supposed to be one of the busiest times of the year in the property market. But what will 2021 hold in store for buyers and sellers this time round? Joining me now live from realestate.com.au is John Healy. John, spring has sprung, but the traditional selling season is looking anything but that at this stage.
Well, that's right. It really is looking like a spring market like no other, with lockdowns around Sydney, Melbourne and the ACT expected to delay that peak selling season in those markets. But it is looking like a more traditional start to the season in other markets that aren't currently in lockdown, around Perth and Brisbane, Adelaide and Hobart. But certainly in Sydney, where that lockdown is expected to continue into October, it is expected to be a really slow start to spring there, as sellers remain hesitant to list their properties amid the current lockdown. And that's a similar story for sellers in Melbourne and the ACT as well. And the delays in those markets mean that depending on when the lockdowns lift, there could be selling activity right up through to the Christmas period, even into the early part of next year. And meanwhile, high intent buyer demand does remain at the near record levels that were set back in February this year. The REA Insights Weekly Buyer Demand Index was up 0.6% last week. So there are plenty of serious buyers in the market this spring, ready to swoop on the available homes on offer. And to cater for that demand, it is predicted that there will be a surge in new listings come to market when those lockdowns end, as was the experience in Melbourne following the end of its second extended lockdown last October.
And as you've just mentioned, this year is a spring market, John, like no other. So how are auction volumes looking around the country to kick the season off?
Well, to kick off the official spring selling season this weekend, there are just over 1,100 properties set to go to market around Australia, nearly 900 of those in our capital city markets. And looking around some of those capital city markets now, those Sydney and Melbourne auction volumes are clearly well down on where they have been in more recent times, but they are still up on the auction volumes in Sydney and Melbourne at the same time last year. And that's largely due to agents, sellers and buyers all getting really used to those online auctions now that have been achieving some very strong sales results. Numbers are also well up year on year in Brisbane and Adelaide markets, but in the ACT, where that lockdown continues, just 30 auctions penciled in for this weekend to kick off spring there. That's down 47% year on year.
And with the last weekend of winter auctions behind us, how did those sales perform around the country?
Well, sales continued to perform very strongly around the country last weekend, and clearance rates were very strong again, largely a result of that huge buyer demand relative to some of the low supply that is in the market. And on the auction results available last week, Sydney and Adelaide were down slightly week on week, but up in Brisbane, Adelaide and Melbourne last weekend. The ACT had a very strong showing there too on the 36 auction results available in that market, and there were around 47 auctions scheduled there.
And finally, as the spring selling season kicks off, which homes are drawing the most attention from buyers this week?
Well, the most popular homes this week are dominated by homes dotted around South Australia and Queensland, and a good spread of prices too, around $700,000 for the home in Frankston there in Melbourne, right up to what would be expected to be many millions of dollars for our most viewed home in Chandler in Brisbane, which is tipped to break those Brisbane sales records. That's the second week in a row now that home has been top of our most viewed list. But taking a look at our second most viewed home now in Prospect, a suburb of Adelaide, about 5 kilometres to the north of the Adelaide CBD. This is a stunning home. It's a 6-bedroom, 5-bathroom home on more than 1,500 square metres and some terrific indoor and outdoor living. The kitchen in this home actually won Kitchen of the Year back in 2013 in the Master Builders Awards, and that indoor and outdoor flow works really well, opening right up into that amazing tennis court and pool area outdoor. In fact, it's been so popular, this home, that it's just been put under contract according to its now updated listing, and according to the agent there, it has broken the Prospect suburb sales record. So a great result for the owners of that home there in Prospect.
Absolutely, a gorgeous outdoor entertaining area, and the tennis court, absolutely perfect. John Healy, thank you. We'll see you again next week.